everyone. Welcome back to the Grounded and Growing podcast. This is episode 6, I believe. That's kind of a lot. That's went by pretty fast. But I'm here with Brianna. She's my best friend. She's eating. She's eating some food because she just came from track, like the queen she is.
Thanks.
Speedy queen.
I was hungry all the time too. I was getting very grumpy. I know it's not important to what we're going to talk about, but I was getting very grumpy. I was so hungry and I was lashing out at people, and I just needed to create boundaries for myself,
right.
you know?
Yeah. So I didn't plan any questions for this because I've been really busy and it's been on my list a lot and I didn't do it. And then I was like, well, it's Brianna, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So my plan is to talk about boundaries. Will that probably end up somewhere else? Yeah. But will it probably be good? Heck yeah. So
something I was thinking about too is like when we first started, or when we were driving to Bend, I was thinking about this, like driving here, when we were driving to Bend and we were like talking, we were having such good conversations and like these like really like deep, like intellectual, like challenging conversations we were having. And then it was so funny because then we would like stop and be like, just like say something.
we start like farting.
Oh my god. And then we would like go like just be able to switch back. And then we like,
Yeah.
I don't know which of us mentioned it, but somebody mentioned like we should do a podcast. Like
yeah.
I just think that that's so cool that turned into this, and like it's been such a successful thing for you. And like I was just thinking about that, like kind of where this idea started. Like last summer we were driving to Sun River, and like that's just so
Crazy.
cool to see that like now you have this whole setup and you have all these people coming in, you have like such an organized thing that's going on, and I just think it's really cool. So I'm proud of you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's kind of how it like started. Is we were having this conversation, and I was like,
it was like topic after topic. It was just like,
and that's kind of what we
Yeah.
always do, and
Mhm.
like it was just easy. But yeah, so that's kind of where this idea came from. And then actually, the original plan for this was, since it's for my senior project, but also I just wanted to do it.
yeah.
We were gonna do it together, so
Mhm.
it was actually not gonna be having guests on. It was gonna be Brea and I talking about a bunch of different topics.
And like we'd bring people in maybe every once in a while.
Yeah, but it was gonna be mostly just us like talking through things. And then that idea got turned down because we weren't allowed to do it together for a senior project. So, anyways, I did it as my senior project. She's doing something else, but
And like I feel like I'm not like helping you do it, but I feel like I've still been a part of the process, which has been cool, and I've really appreciated, because like I think it would have been cool to do together, but I also think it's really cool to like be able to just be on as one of the guests and like kind of be in the background too, just like talking through different questions and stuff. I think it's cool. So I'm good with how it worked out.
that's good. Yeah, I run a lot of my questions by her first, and like we talk about things first. But anyways, the first question is, who has had the biggest influence on your life? So
I forgot you're gonna ask that. I was like thinking about it the other day, and then I forgot to talk about it. I would say either my dad or one of my brothers, probably. Yeah, I would say my dad or Zach, my brother Zach. I think that they like kind of have they influence me in different ways, because like Zach has really helped with like my running relationship, and like he's like runs a lot, is like kind of crazy. So he has just really shown me like where the correlation is between like spiritual growth and your spiritual life and like running, and how those connect and how they intertwine, and like how I feel like I can like see better our like spiritual realm. I know that sounds weird, but like, you know, the spiritual realm, like where like there's like demons and like angels fighting, like that is so real in our world, and like accessing that and like almost like being a part of that comes when I like am in my element running. Do you know what I mean? And like that has really been super impactful from just like Zach's perspective of showing me what that looks like, and like letting me create that for myself, but just like planting that seed in me of like, this is what running can be. And it's so much more than that too, but like it's just, that's such a huge piece of running for me, is like my time of peace with God. And like it hurts a lot, and like it's hard work, but like there's also just like such just like peaceful time in it. And I think that has just really shown me, like he has just really shown that to me. So that Zach is really influential person in my life. And then my dad also, just because he is so consistent, like he's just, and Zach's that way too, especially with running, but my dad is just like the most consistent person ever. Like it's just so weird to me because I'm a very like emotional, like let's make a choice and like base it off everything I feel and love, and like he's just like such a logical thinker, but like he knows how to love people well in that. And I think that it's been cool to see like my parents parent that way, because my mom's pretty like emotionally driven, my dad's really logical, and just like how they come together and parent so well is like I've just really, and like my mom's great too, like she does an awesome job, but I think that I relate more to my mom in that way. So it's like cool to see how my dad does things that I don't know if I can do, and like he pushes me to be that. And like especially just like with high school just like drama or like boys or like just like anything that's going on, like he's always been like the rock in my life that's like turning me back to Christ every time. And also just like stop thinking with your emotions and like think logically for a second, like think about consequences, think about like rewards, like think about how this is going to impact other people, like things that you'd think you like think about in the moment, but I don't, especially when I'm making a decision. Like it's just so emotionally driven. I think that he's been so influential in my life of like bringing me down back to earth sometimes, like bringing me back in and being like, okay, like what is it that really needs to happen in this situation? So, and he's just like the spiritual leader of our family, and like just seeing how consistent he's been through his like pastoral ministries and everything, and like as a father, as a husband, as a grandpa now, like it's really cool to see. So
nice. That's cool. That made me just think what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Boundaries, yes, but I want to talk about navigating high school.
Navigating high school.
Are we qualified?
No.
Have we been also doing it for 4 years though?
Yeah.
And so, do we have some advice?
Yeah. And like,
have we done it perfectly? No.
No.
Can anyone do it perfectly? No. Is there a perfect way to do it? No.
But like, that's true. We have experience, and like we can speak from what we have experienced, and like, yeah.
Okay. I'm writing as we do this because I'm gonna think of things on the spot and then write it down so we can talk about it. Okay. Okay, we're gonna start easy-ish. You're gonna say, you look so scared.
I know.
We're gonna start with classes.
Okay.
Does Brea navigate this well? No.
I feel like I used to. I know how. I just don't execute it. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about classes. Okay.
Hey.
What's your initial thought?
I'm a straight A student, so I have a D right now, but that's
that's besides the point.
Yeah, that's just because I didn't turn stuff in, so I'll get that in and then it'll be fine. Okay, first initial thought with classes is how I did it. Like, just thinking about like how I organized my high school, I front loaded like crazy, got like so much out of the way freshman, sophomore year, and then I just like coasted last year, and then this year I'm like kind of making up for it again.
Okay.
So I would advise, like, yeah, try to get ahead, but get ahead for a reason. Because, like, I got ahead in math because I thought I wanted to take calculus and then because I got so ahead that I would have taken calculus junior year and then had no math senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Or taken higher math, I guess. But, like, there was no reason for me to do that to myself so early on. Because, like, it's nice to have the free time, but I probably would have had free time no matter what now, even if I hadn't have, like, front-loaded before.
Right.
And, like, there was just no reason with all the other things that were going on at that time to, like, put that much on myself at that time. And so I guess I would just say, like, yeah, like, obviously do your best in whatever you do and, like, work really hard. And, like, if you feel like this is kind of slow for me, like, see if you can take it another step. But, like, especially, like, freshman, sophomore year, you have so much more time. Like, you don't need to, like, rush through it. And I know that's, like, so hard because, like, even us as seniors were like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so done with school. But, like, when you're in the middle of it, like, enjoy it. Don't stress yourself out with, like, oh my gosh, I have to get all these classes and I have to, like, do your best. Do well. I'm sure you will, as long as you give the time it needs. But, like, don't kill yourself over it. Like, there's really there's no reason to. Because I feel like I've been on both ends of, like, I'm working so hard to get everything and get it all perfect, like, and I've been on the other end where it's like, I don't do anything. And, like, just trying to, like, as much as you can, everything in moderation. Like, just trying to find a really great middle ground so that you can balance other things with school. And, like, I don't know, I mean, that's a big tangent, but with classes, I would say, like, work hard. If you feel like you could do a little more, do a little more. But, like, there is no reason to, like, kill yourself over it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you're coming into high school and you're looking at what classes you want to take, I'm the oldest, so I was the guinea pig for my family. She's the youngest, so she had a different experience. But I would say it depends on what your goals are, because if you're knowing you want to go into math, or you just really like math and you want to do that, then get ahead in that. So I would say, like, focus on getting ahead in the classes that you know is a career you want to go into, because it does pay off later. When you go to college, you won't have to take as many classes. What I kind of did with my classes was a little different. So freshman year, I took pretty just normal classes, and it was easy for me. And that was because I didn't know what I was doing, because I was the first one to go through it in my family. Sophomore year, I did the same thing, got ahead with some math. Junior year, killed myself over classes. I took hard classes junior year, and then this year, I'm coasting. So I would say...
And junior year is usually pretty hard, no matter what. Like, junior year is going to be a little bit of a step up for everybody, and, like, that's just the reality of high school, but, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say it depends on your goals. I also would say, when you're saying do what you enjoy, different people enjoy different things, and so for me, I love planning it all out, and I love being busy in the sense of, like, doing schoolwork. This year, I don't, because I'm ready to graduate, but... Like, you've never really liked doing schoolwork. Yeah. And I've liked doing schoolwork. So I think it just depends. Did I balance that with a social life well? No. But, like, I think that if you love doing a lot of classes, then do a lot of classes. I think my advice would just be, like, make a plan. If you're not a planning person, then this probably doesn't apply to you. But
as a planner, from your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, I wish that freshman year I would have talked to a senior and been like, okay, what is worth getting ahead in? What's worth doing? And then done those harder classes earlier on, but more spaced out. Because junior year definitely burned me out. And it was really, really hard coming back into senior year. And... so if you can avoid that, that'd be great, and just space it out more. But also from an oldest child perspective, I didn't know what I was doing. So
yeah, and I think that that's the difference too. Is like, I feel like I like to say that I'm a planner, but I don't think that I am.
I think you think that that's gonna make you, like, feel put together, but it really just depends on your personality.
Yeah, and it never like I feel like planning is necessary for some things, and, like, you just have to do it. And, like, different aspects of it help me, like, sometimes writing things out will help, or, like, stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm not really a planner. And so, like, for me, what has worked is, like, I don't know, I don't want to say, like, take things as they come. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, I don't know.
I would say the good in between is don't do what I did and try and get ahead.
And don't do what I did.
Like, in every class, like, I would literally try and get all my week's worth of work that I knew was coming up done in, like, one day. And I would, like, and then just do that every day, and I'd, like, stress myself out so much. So I would say don't plan to that extent, but I would also say don't be, like, not expecting work to come and, like, just go with it. So I would say the good in between is when you get your work, do it that day. When you fall behind, that's when it gets really hard. Yeah. So I would say do it as it comes, like, that day. So plan out, like, I'm gonna do homework this day.
That's actually, like, probably one of the biggest, like, pieces of advice you've given me, because, like, I always am like, oh, it's not due for another few days, like, I'm not gonna do it. If you do your work the day that you're given it, like,
it's also such just, like, a burden.
It's literally, you don't have to think about it later. You don't have to, like, scramble to see if it's done later. Like, you won't be late, because when the time comes to turn it in, you already had it done.
Like,
you know what I mean?
Did that.
Exactly. And, like, that's such a good piece of advice of, like, do it when it's given to you. And I know that is, like, hard sometimes. Like, oh, I'm busy, I'm doing things. I'm like, yeah, but, like, use your class time. Like, use the class time you've been given.
Use
like,
class time,
like, I think it's hard because you don't want to fill every little piece of your life with, like, oh, whenever I have free time, I'll just do it. Like, that's not, you don't want to do that either. But, like, use class time really well. maybe set aside some time that you can, at least throughout the week. I mean, that's what I've been kind of doing is, like, on Saturdays, I'll do homework or something because, like, my week's pretty busy. But, yeah, I would just say, like, be super intentional about doing things the day that you get them. I think that just helps so much because I struggle so much with getting behind just because I don't want to do it in the time that I have, you know?
Yeah. I would also say, like, communicate with your teachers and get help if you need help. Like, there's a lot of resources at most schools, so. Okay, we're moving on to a harder topic. We're going to talk about friends. My biggest piece of advice with friends, I said this in the last podcast, but there's not a story behind everything, okay? Let me explain. This was, like, my, like, whoa moment. Like, when, I don't know, I mean, she was there through everything, but just, like, once I realized that, it was, like, such a burden off of me.
Wait, say it again.
There's not a story behind everything. So, what that meant for me was that it's not my job to understand other people's emotions and how they react. Not that you can't work through that and try to understand that, but it's also not worth, like, dwelling on and, like, trying to figure out and trying to put a story behind it and why they acted the way they acted and why they said what they said. And yeah, when I learned that, like, that was just, like, huge for me. And also, like, for me, understanding that a real friend is gonna be someone that I can say, I don't feel like hanging out, and I don't have to, that can be a reason.
Yeah,
like,
that
is literally
just
a reason.
You don't want to is fine.
Yeah, and, like, the friend is gonna be okay with that. And so, that would be my biggest piece of advice, is that there's not a story behind everything for you, and a real friend will understand that. And you don't have to put a story behind other people's emotions and actions and
choices.
Yeah. And then my second biggest piece of advice is that friends change, and that is okay, and that goes with the no story behind it. Sometimes you just outgrow people, and sometimes you just move on, and they move on, and so it doesn't always mean that there was a big fallout and, like, there's drama and all this stuff. It's just sometimes, like, friend groups change, and that's fine, and I think that that's good and healthy. And we've both been through lots of friend groups in high school, and you know what, we're doing fine. So, so yeah, that would be my two biggest things.
Yeah, I think going off of, like, being okay with the change, I think that just, like, just comes a lot with, like, junior high and high school too. Just, like, you're trying to figure out who you are, what your, like, where your groove is at. Everyone's trying to figure it out, and, like, I just feel like there's such a huge thing about, like, oh, who's my best friend? Do you know what I mean? Like, who's my best friend? Like, you have to have one, and you have to find it, and you have to have your person. And, like,
I did not have a best friend for a long time, and even when I did have a best friend, it wasn't really a best friend, you know? Until you.
Yeah. Aww. And I feel like everyone's just, like, scrambling to find someone to put the label on. Do you know what I mean? And, like, no one is willing to take the time to, like, get to know somebody and, like, put the work in order for that to be a good, like, super close, healthy relationship. And, like, I just feel like with how our relationship has been, I've really appreciated kind of what you mentioned, just, like, respecting each other, but, like, also loving each other so much that, like, that's why you respect them. Do you know what I mean? And so it's, like, you can do whatever the heck you want, and, like, I'm gonna tell you if I don't agree, and I'm gonna support you, and, like, do you know what I mean? And, like, if you don't want to hang out, we don't have to hang out. And, like, if it's a no, it's a no. And if it's like, yeah, let's do this, it's like, yeah, let's do this. And, like, I'm not saying don't make sacrifices for people, but I'm just saying, like, it's not always that deep. And, like, it's just, like, I think that sacrificial love is super important, and I think that we're called to have that, especially with, like, like, people in close relationships, like, lasting, consistent relationships especially, like, that is necessary. But I just feel like sacrificial love looks a little bit different than, like, having to sacrifice something of yourself every time. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes sacrificial love is setting a boundary for you from me, because, like, that's the best way that I can love you well, is setting boundaries. And that's kind of, like, talking about boundaries a little bit. But and I think we've just learned that in relationships, just, like, with the friends that we've had and the friends that we haven't had, and, like, all the different situations that, I mean, we've been through in the past few years. Like, boundary setting is a form of love, and it's, like, you're loving yourself well, you're loving the people around you well, if you can set boundaries that keep you safe and the people around you safe. And that means emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever that means. Like, there's aspects of that in every piece of who you are and, like, every piece of a relationship. And so I think once we kind of finally learned that, and that aha moment of, like, oh, it's actually not that deep. Like, I actually can say no, and it doesn't mean I hate you. And I think that's a part of maturity, too. But, yeah, I think that I've really learned that, too, in the past relationships. And just, like, seeing you go through some stuff and, like, kind of being, like, on the outside almost of that situation. Like, just, like, kind of sitting on the outside and being like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand it. And, like, being able to see both perspectives and, like, just being so inspired by how you were able to come out of that, of, like, yeah, I'm okay, that kind of sucked, and, like, we're moving on. And, like, that situation that happened, I don't know, I just, like, I think that I learned a lot just watching that play out too. But yeah,
learn who people are once they've grown up. Brea and I have known each other since kindergarten. Kind of friends for a hot second.
Like besties in 3rd grade, and then like had a falling out.
Falling out and just didn't like each other.
Do you know what happened? I don't remember what happened. Or do you, like, remember what happened?
I don't remember exactly, but I remember it was something like...
Was it because I was looking at the bathroom stall?
No. Yeah, she used to stare at me while I was going to pee.
No!
Like a weirdo.
I just thought it was funny to, like, look... When I was like, okay, let's preface. I was, like, what, like, 1st grade, kindergarten? And I just, like, thought it was the funniest thing to, like, peek over the stalls. And, like, because I was, like... And I was, like... I just thought I was, like, really athletic for doing it, because I had to, like... climb on the toilet and everything. Anyways, I would only do it if I knew the person. Anyways.
How did you not know the person? There were literally 20 people at our school.
I mean, like, it would be like you. I'm not supposed to say names.
I can't beep it out.
Please do. Okay. It would be you or some other girl, and like, I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So, what was the reason?
That's really besides the point.
Yeah.
We used to not get along, is the moral of the story there. And we kind of grew up and then became friends, which I didn't ever see that coming. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say learn who people are now, give people a second chance. If you're like, they're obviously the same person that they were, then take space. Like, it's fine. But, yeah.
Can I add on to that really quick?
Yes.
Be careful with the chances you give people. Yes, give people second chances for sure. And I think that I'm a very, like, give people the benefit of the doubt until they prove you wrong. Like I would say, like, go into relationships, like, dating, friendships, whatever, like, any type of relationship, like, give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove that, like, they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, because I feel like you struggled with that a little bit of just, like, giving people a lot of chances and, like, oh, they changed. No, they changed.
There's a difference between forgiveness and giving a second chance. Because in the Bible, we're called to forgive over and over and over and over.
And that's necessary, yeah.
Yeah, and you can forgive someone and put boundaries and not be friends anymore. Like, you can do that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I just think I wanted to highlight, like, yes, give people a second chance. Like, I just remember, like, all the mistakes I've made, like, I would want second chances. And, like, I would want to be able to prove to people that I have changed and, like, that I am a different person and I do make different decisions. So, like, please give people second chances, but don't give them so many that you're being taken advantage of. So I think there's just, like, there's a balance between that, and there is a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. So
yeah. Yes. On the topic of finding friends, I did not have a good group of friends for a long time. Or any good friends. Like, that was something I really struggled with. And I would say that if you're looking for a group of friends, you're trying to be part of this group of friends, you're trying, and it's just, like, not right. And we both experienced this, where it's like, it feels like they don't really want you there, or it's confusing and it's back and forth, or it's a lot of drama. Like, avoid the drama, please. It's not worth it.
It's not fun. Drama's not, like, some fun thing. Like, it ruins relationships and, like, really hurts you, and, like, like, don't seek out drama, don't create drama. Like, there's no reason for that. Like, your relationships are going to be so much more life-giving and fulfilling if you can, like, be straightforward and, like, avoid the conflict. Like, you're not gonna avoid every single conflict, but deal with conflict well when it comes to it, and like be direct with people, and like there's just no reason for the drama.
And it should be a conflict that is worth working through. If it's something that's like over something stupid, I don't know. I just feel like if you're trying to be mature about something and the group that you're trying to be part of is just not, it's not probably your group. And I would say that God will bring the right group of friends in the right timing, and he'll bring the friends that you need when you need them. So
and sometimes that's for a season.
Like for me, that was for years, and I would say even like right now, you know, my friend group's kind of changing, and so to be kind of moving out of that, I'm just like, okay, God, like, you know, there's times where I feel lonely. There's times when I feel like there's not people there, and there is people there, different than what it was even a few months ago, but and you know, it's like I still do obviously have good friends, but it's just different, and so for me, that like in where I'm at right now, that's taking trust for me. Like, okay, I'm gonna go to college, and like I'm gonna meet new people, and God's gonna bring the people into my life that he wants in my life, versus if I go out there and I'm trying to force my way into a group and it doesn't feel right, it just won't leave you feeling good. And I would say, as hard as being lonely is, it's almost better to be lonely than to force yourself into a group that
you're just gonna
doesn't want you there, to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't want to be there if they don't want you there, because there's going to be a group that does want you. So, anyways, I think that people talk a lot about having standards for a relationship, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but I think you can have standards for friends too, and have standards that you want them to appreciate you, you want them to invite you and intentionally seek you out, and like make you feel loved, and have a godly friendship. Like, I think that you can set standards for that.
Yeah, and there's just so many people in the world, and there's so many people that want to do that for you, and like will get to know you and like love you well, and I just think that there's like no reason to settle for anything less than that.
Don't settle for bad friends.
And like, so I was thinking about like kind of what you were saying. Something my mom always says is, God's plan done in God's way will never lack God's supply. So like that just like really resonated with me, thinking about like waiting for his timing, and like trying to do what you like, you're trying to do the right thing, but it's like feels like it's taking forever, and like his plan will play out. You might make a mistake every once and again, but he can use that. But like God's plan done in God's time will never lack God's supply. And like I just think that is so important, and something that has really been instilled in me, to just like continue on it. Follow the path. I know it sucks sometimes, because like I felt that too. Like I felt like I don't have people in my life that care about me, and like I'm never going to, and I'm gonna be alone forever, and this is terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of spiraling, but like you're gonna be okay. And like he has a plan for you, and his plan is not for you to be lonely your entire life. Like that's not
how he made us. And one thing that I really struggled with is there's something wrong with me. That's why I don't have friends. I act weird, or I talk weird, or I know, like whatever. Like that was the thing for me, is like, oh, no one wants to be my friend because there's something wrong with me. To that, I would say to try and look realistically at the situation. One thing that I was listening to a Sadie podcast, and she was talking to Bob Goff, and he said, try and look at the situation optimistically. So like giving them kind of the benefit of the doubt, you know, and then look at the situation realistically, like, okay, what's probably really happening here? And then, graciously, so giving them the benefit of the doubt. Realistically, what's probably happening, and then optimistically, like, God can change this. So, one thing I would say for that, like, using that with friends, is optimistically, you know, you can kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, like, they're probably they were in a bad mood or whatever. Realistically, like, maybe they didn't want me there, and maybe, like, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just those weren't the right group. That wasn't the right group of people. And did I say that backwards again? I don't know.
A little bit, but I think just keep going.
And then the point that God will work through it. And God will bring me the right. God will bring me the right people in the right time. So I said that kind of backwards.
Made sense though.
Ruined it, and you should go listen to Sadie's podcast with Bob Goff. Plug. But anyways. Yes, I think it's important that there's not necessarily something wrong with you. It's just not the right people for you. So, And realistically for us too would be we've been given a small sample of people.
Yeah.
You know, we go to a small school, so like looking at that perspective too. But yeah. Okay, then we're gonna talk about relationships.
Like boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Now we're gonna talk.
What do you want me to say?
Now we're gonna talk about relationships. How's your love life going?
Shut up.
You can ask me the same thing.
Well, I'm confused, but I feel
same. So
I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how to do it perfectly. I've learned a lot no matter what. And I think that I've learned that my priority is to grow. And like, obviously I want to meet someone that I can spend the rest of my life with. But like, something your dad has instilled in me a little bit is like, there's a big world out there. And that doesn't mean I haven't met the person that I can spend the rest of my life with. And like, it just means that like, there's a lot of opportunities and like, there's a lot of ways to grow. And like, I don't know, I guess that something that we've talked a lot about is like, not settling. And like, kind of, we went to Italy and we were like talking about a lot of this and had a lot of good time together. And it was actually something that Matt said, wasn't it?
yeah, so that's what I was gonna bring up.
Okay, yeah, go for it. I hate that he's right so much.
I hate that all our relationship advice is from him.
Stupid, happily married man.
Yeah.
With beautiful children and a nice, beautiful life. Honestly, we probably should take more advice from him. He's doing
we're giving
well.
all this advice, and just so you know, we are struggling to take it.
Yeah. So basically, not doing well in this area, but have learned a lot and am learning a lot. So I feel like it's okay. And this podcast is about realistically, like, what our life is looking like.
Yeah. And grounded and growing.
Yeah. This is about the growth part, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So what he said, she was doing fine. I was having a mental breakdown about...
I guess I was fine.
Yeah, about boys. Because, you know, that's what you do in Italy. When in Rome.
No. We were in Rome.
And I don't know if he just, like, walked into the hotel room or, like, it was in the lobby.
We were in the, like, cafeteria area, right?
I don't know. He just, like, started spitting out facts.
Yeah, literally.
Anyways, he was like, what I want you girls both to remember is that you guys are both A's in every aspect, and you shouldn't have to settle for less than an A in any aspect.
Yeah.
So, what he was basically saying is, like, not in a weird way. It sounds weird.
Yeah.
But, I mean, don't sell yourself short, you know?
Don't settle for anything less than what you deserve.
Yeah. Like attractive and godly and nice and...
intellectual and caring. And, like, there's so many people out there, first of all. Yeah, and like there's so many different people, and there's so many people that are gonna bring different things. And while I don't know if one is necessarily better than the other, there's not anything necessarily that's like, oh, this person has this and this person has this, so this is gonna be better. Like sometimes it's just different. But like don't settle for, oh well, he's good in this, but like isn't good in this, so like I guess I can just like compromise. Like no reason. No reason to compromise. And like, especially when you're young, I feel like it gets different. Like once you're married, right, that's a different conversation. But we're speaking from like a dating perspective and like from a like high school relationship perspective and like that kind of stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, I was in a 2.5-year relationship. Like, I'm not saying you can't meet someone when you're young. I'm just saying like, don't settle.
That it won't work out.
Yeah,
just like
exactly. And like, I honestly like have just learned so much. I feel like that has just been, if nothing else, if like nothing works out, if I die at 80 and I've never been married or like anything, that's like I've learned so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like obviously I want to get married and have kids and like everything like that. But
God's timing, which is so hard.
Yeah.
But when he said that about an A in every aspect, we were just like quiet for a second and we just started thinking, we're like, what does every aspect mean?
Yeah.
Like if you
like,
could list out every aspect. And my dad goes, that even means their family. And then we were like, oh. And then we were like thinking even more. And I was like,
what else does that mean? Because there's so many pieces to it.
For me, I was thinking, okay, that means pursuing me. Like, that means being an A and pursuing me.
Mm-hmm.
He's a nice person, he's attractive, he's godly. Is he pursuing me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is his family all that it can be? And not that anyone's perfect, but just that
you have to pick.
You're gonna have someone that is gonna match you well, and that their things that they're not necessarily like great at is going to be something that doesn't feel as big of a deal to you. If it's something that's making the relationship really hard and really complicated and really painful, not that you can't work through that, but it's just like there's other people too. And that's what I think we have a hard time with, is like, don't settle, but also there's no perfect person. And so that's
like conflict. Yeah, we're just like, I think that I wish that I could be like, here's what I learned and here's the right answer, but like, it's different for everybody and
different for every relationship.
Yeah,
I think the biggest, most important thing is your relationship with God, because what I've learned over the last few years is that no one knows your relationship with God. And so if you feel like God's telling you, hey, this is the right thing, like, do it. I like was in a short relationship, and I felt like God was telling me this is the right thing, and everyone was telling me this is not the right thing. I learned so much in that relationship, and I don't regret any of it. If I had listened to the world, I probably wouldn't have been in that relationship, and I wouldn't have learned all that I learned. So I would say that your relationship with God is what should lead you in other relationships. Also, it's important to date for marriage, because otherwise you're just going to get heartbroken.
Yeah. And there's no reason to like go around hurting people. That's just like, I mean, that's just our opinion, is to date for marriage. And like, I think that that's biblical, but like, not everyone's going to agree with that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, I personally don't understand why you would date someone not looking to see if you could marry them.
Yeah. Like, even if you're young, I think that you can, even if you're young, even if you're 16, 17, whatever, you can still, if you have a strong relationship with Jesus, you have your priorities straight, you have your focus on the Lord, you can still date for marriage, even if you're young. I still think you can. You can grow up still and be in that relationship and still get married one day. Like, I totally believe that. But
and also keeping in mind that like people change as you grow older and things like that. So like
being ready for that.
Yeah, just like being ready for, like, if you date young, like, know that like it is so possible and probably probable, like, that you and the other person are going to change a lot as you grow up. Like, you just learn so much, and like just being okay with that, being ready for that. I think that it's possible to like date young and have it be successful, but I also think that it's like not the only way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that if you're dating for marriage, stay friends with someone for as long as you
possible.
Can. Yeah.
As long as possible.
As long as you can, because you get to know them really well. And then if you're like, maybe this isn't someone I want to date, then you know before you're in a relationship. But I would also say sometimes you have to date to figure things out, you know? So
yeah, you have to date to figure some like the specifics out. Like, do we match like physically? Like, are we physically compatible? Like, do I like the pursuing thing? Because like it's going to be a little different in a friendship as it will be in a relationship with pursuing. And like there are some things you're not going to figure out until you get to the actual relationship. But like that's honestly a piece of advice that my parents gave me, is like, be friends for as long as possible. And I didn't take it, and it's not really gotten me anywhere but heartbreak.
Yeah.
Like, it really, like, I'm just like such an emotional reactor that I like have an emotion and I react on it and I make a choice, and like that's something I'm working on. But like, yeah, I just have really struggled with like thinking through things logically. Like I talked at the beginning with like my dad does that so well, and I've learned a lot from him, and I'm still learning from him. But like there's just been a few circumstances where if I would have tried to stay friends with the person as long as possible, I think it would have gotten me out of like some hurtful situations. And like, while I don't regret any choices that I've really made, like, well, some of them I guess, but like not regret in the sense of like nothing good came from it, I guess, because I feel like there's things that I wish maybe could have been different, but like the good that came out of it eventually I think was worth it. And like, while I don't want to hurt people, and I don't want like, I wouldn't want to go back and like make a hurtful choice again, I like have learned so much, and the value that has come from the choices that I made, even if they weren't right in the moment, are like so worth it. Because like I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And like, who am I without the choices that I've made and like the experiences that I've gone through? Like, they've shaped who I am and who eventually I will be in a relationship, and who I can be for this person that I'm in a relationship with, like whoever that may be. So I don't know. I feel like it's hard, like, because if I say like, oh, I don't regret anything, everyone's like, because like I've made some bad choices, but like I made the choice and I'm not going to redo it. Like, I don't have that option. And also, like, I probably wouldn't if I could, because I've learned too much to sacrifice that, you know?
Yeah. So, stay friends as long as you can. And the second that you know you don't want to marry that person, as hard as it is, call it off.
Yeah. Don't lead her down.
That's one thing that I'm good at, I think, is like...
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah. It's like the second that I know, like, this isn't someone I want to marry, then I'm like, okay, as hard as it is.
Yeah. And as long as you have that confirmation.
It's going to be harder the longer you wait.
Mm-hmm. And as long as you, like, have the clarity and confirmation from God, from whoever you need, like, from the people in your life, like, once you have the clarity, because I think that is good for you, yes, but, like, for me, if I acted on every decision that I felt in the moment, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it just wouldn't be the best option.
Well, talk to people first, because I'm the same way. Like, one thing that you said is that you don't obviously want to hurt people. I wanted to point out that you can't get through life without hurting people.
Yeah. And it sucks.
Yeah.
But
Jesus, like, this is going to sound weird, Jesus hurt people. Like, people were offended by Jesus.
Yeah.
You know?
And like, I think of, like, Lazarus. I was thinking about that. What was it, Mary Magdalene or whatever? Martha and Mary, right? Mm-hmm. They were hurt because he hadn't come and, like, saved Lazarus before he died. And, like, that story obviously works out, but, like, I just think that that's really interesting is, like,
they all work out,
yeah,
by the way.
And yeah, exactly. And, like, he didn't intentionally hurt them. He didn't sin, nothing like that. Mm-hmm. But, like, his actions, like, hurt somebody over here. Right. And, like, that's just inevitable, isn't it? Like, I don't know. I think that's
whatever choice you make, there's always going to be someone that's unhappy. So, you can't really get through without hurting people. So as much, if you get to it in a relationship, if you're friends for a while, you're like, we should date. You date for a few months, you're like, I do not see myself marrying this person. Get out. Yeah, get out. Like, as hard as it is, you're going to have to end it. And, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe we're speaking directly to someone right now. Someone listening is like, yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to make the hard choice for you and for the other person, and
it'll be so much better in the long run. Yeah. Even though it sucks in the moment, and it's gonna hurt a lot, and you might cry about it for,
feels like it never
a month, and, like, feels like it's never gonna feel better, and you can't stop thinking about them, and you're gonna go back and forth. What if did I make the right choice? Like, should I go back? Like, no.
Then you'll be okay. You'll get through it eventually. Eventually, it's really hard. Not diminishing that at all.
Time helps.
You'll meet someone else and you'll be like, wow, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So do we have it figured out? Absolutely not.
No.
But that's kind of what we've learned. Maybe we'll revisit in 10 years.
Yeah, probably. Do a remake.
Hopefully happily married.
Yeah,
yeah. We might have to do a part 2 because
we have a lot to talk about.
Both have things to do tonight.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to high school than just that. Just this. But really quickly, we started talking about balance a little bit. So I want to touch on other topics in a second part, but for now, what we've talked about with classes and relationships, how would you advise balance?
Be super intentional about what your priorities are and let everything kind of trickle in from there. I think that if your priorities are relationships, they're gonna take precedence over your grades, over your schoolwork. If your priority is school, that's going to take precedence over relationships. Something has to give, pretty much no matter what. And I think that, like, you're not going to do it perfectly every time. I messed up a bunch before I've, like, kind of gotten a figure for it, and I don't know. But, like, figure out what your priorities are, and then, like, give time to the things that you care about. And some things you have to do, like school, and, like, make the most of it as you can. But, like, I don't know, I just think whatever is important to you is going to be the things that take the most precedence in your life. And so identifying, like, okay, I really, really care about this person. I really want them in my life. How can I make sure that I'm balancing that with the things I still have to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And also think about what's important for you long term, because to be honest, a lot of your friends in high school probably aren't going to be your friends in college. You know? So if you're like, this kind of goes with what we were saying with romantic relationships too, is if you don't see a future with it, to call it off. I feel like it can be the same with friendships. If you don't see this as a long-term friendship and like this is something that's going to go
it's
far,
not beneficial or like it's not life-giving. Do you know what I mean?
It's
if
okay
it's like draining.
It's okay to call that off too. And so I feel like that can be part of it, is like making sure that the relationships you're investing in are things that are long-term, so that you can focus the rest of your energy into your schoolwork, which is also long-term. One other thing, this is like off topic, but I forgot to mention with school, do good on the easy assignments. That is one thing I forgot to say. Is those
turning the little stuff.
Those small A's add up so that you can afford a big test that you just bombed. You know, that was one other.
Help give some cushion for sure.
That was one other advice I was gonna give, but. That also plays into balance, because if you're taking time to do these little things throughout the semester, then when this one big thing comes, if you're just like crammed and you just can't put in all the time you need to put in because you have other things going on, you balanced out your year, your semester, so that you can afford to not put in 5, 6, 7 hours of work into this test or this project or something like that. So.
And I think that goes with like doing things the day of too, because like a lot of things like that are due the next day or something like that are small things. So just like doing them the day of, getting them turned in, like those small things are gonna add up and they help a lot. So
So balance is hard. It takes time. It takes practice. It takes flexibility and adjustment.
Messing up and learning and redoing it and trying
leaning
again.
on people around you and asking for their advice and letting people help you, because sometimes we need help. That's okay. So, that was a lot. I want to touch on family and things outside of school, in high school, in the next one with Brea. So, don't know when that'll be out. Hopefully soon.
We'll do a part 2 eventually.
We'll do a part 2 eventually. So, I couldn't get that out. Anyways, that's all for today. Hopefully you guys got some advice, and see you guys on the next one. Yeah? Bye.
Bye.
I'm feeling on top of the world, like nothing's ever gonna bring me down. This feeling got me flying high as a bird. I may never touch the ground.